Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. Great article from Fierce Network. I'll leave a link to it in the description so you guys could check it out. Man, yesterday was a overload on information from the AT&T Investors Day. It was about, in total, it was 4 hours and 23 minutes. I think there was a 15-minute break in there or so. So just a lot of a very lengthy Q&A, very detailed. We would have liked to have known a bit more specifics on the wireless side, and I mentioned that in the video before and the follow-up videos. I kind of hinted that, hey, we weren't going to get much wireless info, because just going by history, they don't really disclose too much, right? I don't know if they just don't want to reveal too much to the competition. I don't know what it is, but we're not getting that much information anymore from AT&T. But regardless, we got a little bit more information in this article that I wanted to disclose and talk to you guys about. So the initial deployment of the Open RAN radios from Mavenir, I hope I'm saying that right, and Fujitsu, and then Ericsson as well, it's going to be for small cells. So you'll see that here in the bulletin here. The new radios initially will power small cells, the 4T4R. But AT&T COO said the overall strategy is bigger than that. So we might see that move to the macro. It's possible. It's a very great cost structure that AT&T got from this. That's what I got from the Investors Day yesterday and the press release. They want to build, which is crazy, right? If you think about largest network and highest capacity, right? You put those two in the same sentence, that just smells like money. If you're saying that, you got to spend a ton of money to build the largest network, and you got to spend a ton of money to build the highest capacity network. We're talking the fiber circuits, the spectrum needed to make all this happen, which is, I mean, that's clearly a lot of money. Verizon spent 50 plus billion on C-band. So it's crazy to associate those two in the same sentence, right? Largest and highest capacity, and then say we're going to do it at the cheapest cost. Like, that's pretty much what they said. So that just doesn't go hand in hand. So it's kind of hard to really get excited when AT&T's telling us they're going to go the cheaper route. If you're going to put 4T4R on a macro as a radio for the C-band, that's nasty work. That is nasty work. Verizon does ATAR radios on C-band in areas where they have no other option. There might be some interference risk. There might be an old stealth pole that they have to deploy it on where it can't support the weight of the 64T, 64R, right? Those are very specific scenarios that Verizon uses the ATAR. And it's the ATAR at that. They didn't even step down to the 4T4R. If these radios to 4T4R make it onto the macro, that's nasty work by AT&T. I just got to say that because that's a massive cost cutting. And yes, it's still going to perform okay, but it's going to massively underperform versus what the 64T, 64R can do, the massive MIMO, right? Because at that point, when you're going to deploy the 4T4R radio, are you still deploying massive MIMO at that point? Very likely not. But anyway, just wanted to get that out the way. Let's get to the additional information here that I wanted to talk about. This Ericsson, the Nokia to Ericsson conversion. That's going to take a pretty big priority for AT&T over the next little over 24 months. So while the deal with Ericsson was announced a year ago, AT&T is still at the very beginning of its network transition, according to Miguel Fresh. He's the COO. At the beginning of 2024, it worked on the process of swapping out old Nokia gear, which was presented in about 1/3 of its network, and replacing it with Ericsson. It's now starting to scale that transition side by side across the U.S. So they started it, right? I think they started it, if I remember correctly, at the end of Q2, beginning of Q3. They started that transition. They slowly started to scale. There were some internal documents going around saying there might be some service interruptions for a few days, but it looks like that's That's not happening. They're not seeing many issues now that these swaps are scaling. We won't be complete with this effort until we get into the later stages of 2026. So let's just call it end of 2026. It's going to ramp up considerably each and every quarter, but we won't be fully through this transition, replacing all of our radio access network gear with the new design until we get close towards the tail end of 26 and into 27. I want to temper expectations here. So I know the goal, right? That's a big ambitious goal to have 1/3 of your network completed by the end of 2026, early 27. It's possible, but there's also the possibility that this will run into maybe not a large amount of sites, but there might still be a few hundred sites that will run into the middle of 27 and maybe towards the end of 2027. I know they're going to work at a breakneck pace. They're going to try to move permits up where possible. They're going to try to relocate resources and capital allocations to get that done as quickly as possible. But you're going to run into red tape every now and then. There's going to be some issues with some permits. So it's not going to be as smooth as they will lead you to believe. Now, it's going to be, of course, looking at it from a large scale, bigger picture, it's going to be fairly smooth, but they're going to have hiccups in between. So they're going to have some pushback in this plan. So AT&T has already done thousands of these swaps and proven that it can be done with live traffic on its network with minimal disruption to service, as I mentioned. The swaps are being done over multiple geographies at the same time in what AT&T internally calls a popcorn approach. That's the first time I've heard of that term, referring to sector sites that are converted one by one over the course of the 3-year program. So in total, it's a 3-year program. They started it in 24. They continue in 25. They take it through 2026. I still believe some of that will run into 2027. And it's important to remember that it's not just Nokia gear that's getting ripped out. AT&T is also updating Ericsson equipment so that it has Open RAN compliant. So talking about the baseband, software cards, and everything else. The rest you guys can check out. I'll leave the article in the description so you guys can check it out. So the huge fiber across the huge priority right now is still the fiber build. That is still a very big priority for the company, and you guys will see that in the CapEx. Now, I know there is still no public document where it states, okay, this is how much is going to fiber, this is how much is going to wireless, but the initial number that I've been told, right, a while back was a 60-40 split. Out of the $22 billion total CapEx, there's about a 60-40 split. 60% fiber, 40% wireless. I have heard, again, speculation, but I've been told that is going to go 80-20 very quickly, meaning 80% fiber, 20% wireless. Especially, I've been told, especially on the outer years, right? Once you hit 2026, 2027, you get into the 2028, 2029 when you want to finish the fiber build. I've heard that's when wireless spending is going to be reduced at its highest, like reduction wise. They have a lot of modernization left to do in the Nokia markets. I don't know why they put 2029. I mean, they're claiming to be at 270 million pops nationally by the end of this year. That means a lot of the Ericsson markets have been touched. So those should be modernized and up to par. I don't know where the disconnect is. Maybe they have to go back to the Ericsson markets in some capacity to add DoD and maybe some other radios here and there. But for the most part, the baseband and everything should be SA ready, standalone ready from a 5G perspective. Maybe the 2029 target does include the FirstNet core. I know that still has to be moved over to 5G. But still, plenty of investment to come on the wireless side. But again, it's not going to be anywhere close, at least on the wireless side, it's not going to be anywhere close to what T-Mobile and Verizon are spending on wireless, pure wireless. AT&T is very focused on fiber, and the 50 plus million homes passed should let you know that they are big on fiber. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe if you're new. Follow my social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Live. See y'all in the next one. Peace.